I'm making a video game. The demo is out now. I'm going to lead with that and tell you that the link to play it is in the description. So if you want to go now, then I understand. But I'll just gently request that you watch the rest of this video first. Sit down and pay attention. Let's talk game design. So yes, Reiterate now exists in a playable form, which isn't remotely stress-inducing or nerve-wracking or filling me with anxiety at all. I'm gonna die. What I want to do is walk you through two things. What's in the demo and what's not in the demo. Technically, this covers all of history in the entire universe, but I'll try and keep the video scope down. 10 levels. The levels range from insultingly simple to controller-throwingly hard, so please don't actually smash your PC monitor, or if you do, don't sue me. The reason I did this is that I need some help. What I need you to do is go and play the demo, not yet, the video isn't over, sit down, and then join our Discord, come to the dedicated demo feedback channel, and tell me how the difficulty is for you, what levels you got stuck on, which ones you breezed through, what you liked, what you didn't like, whether I've got too many spikes or even not enough. You know, basically do my job for me. I need this because in my head, the difficulty curve from 1 to 10 in the demo is like a smaller version of the full game's 1 to 50. And if I've got it right, which I think I have, the general balance for difficulty will hopefully translate well to the full game. This means the return of those sexy graphs. Now, the demo isn't as hard as the game will get, because that'd be blowing my load too early, wouldn't it? Instead, it's somewhere near the peak of what the normal game will be. As you may know, there's also going to be 10 bonus levels that will be frankly awful, but in a good way, and they're not ready to go yet, as well as eventually an entire separate set of 50 levels that I'm calling the Z-sides. Another thing you need to know about the demo levels is they're full of badly introduced mechanics. In the full game, there will obviously be levels that will gently and cleverly introduce each mechanic. I don't have the room to do that here, so you'll need to just suddenly figure out how to avoid platforms that plummet as soon as you step on them. You can do it, I believe in you. Pro tip, try jumping. There's also... Today is not the video about how important audio is to game design. This is not that video, that's later. But I do need to tell you that yes, there is music. 3 tracks from the original Reiterate soundtrack are included, all provided by longtime friend of the channel, Jay. Very briefly, the idea behind the soundtrack is a kind of nondescript fictional retro sound. What I want for Reiterate, and you might have noticed this from the way that it looks and plays, is to give the general idea that it could have released on a retro console that never existed. Something around the Amiga or the Mega CD. A console that never was, but if it had been, would have had Reiterate as its flagship mascot game. The music, I think, captures that really well. And speaking of music, another thing I managed to get done for the demo is... In most platformers, every stage or world has a single music theme that loops in the background. That's how it's always been done, and that's what we're used to. So I haven't done that. Instead, when you first load a level, a random track will start playing. If you leave it alone, that one track will loop forever while you play through as many levels as you want. Now, you're thinking, Zane, I'm going to get sick of one track looping forever. And you know what? You're probably right. And that's why you've got dedicated skip buttons. Press either button and the music will skip to the previous or next track in the playlist and then loop that forever instead. You'll get a neat, unobtrusive little notification at the top to tell you the track title that you're on, so you can memorize which track is your favorite and skip to that one whenever you want. But why have I done that? Well, if you've watched the Devlog series up until now, and if you haven't, what the hell are you doing? Go and load the playlist up, oh my gosh. Then you'll know that one of the key influences on Reiterate is Super Meat Boy. I love Super Meat Boy. What I don't love is the way that the music sticks on one track per level, no matter what. And the reason I don't love that is that Super Meat Boy gets hard. Really hard. And what's really annoying is when you're trying over and over again to beat a level. Listening to the same 30-second loop on repeat doesn't do a lot to alleviate your aggravation. So if I put the music playback in your hands, then if you find yourself stuck on a level for 15 minutes, you can mix up the background music before it drives you mad. Genius, I know. Now, in doing this, I am aware that I'm sacrificing the ability to set a particular mood with the music. This is fine for Reiterate because the presentation is very abstract and geometric. It wouldn't work in something like Ori or Hollow Knight, but I'm not making those, am I? Or am I? Is Silksong delayed because development has shifted to me and my copy of Construct 3? No. Don't be silly. But not only do we have music, we also have... They're placeholders I made in BFXR, don't overthink it, I'll replace them later. The demo features the framework for the full background story of Reiterate, but the story itself isn't in here. Instead, it's kind of nonsense placeholder text, just so I'm not giving too much away yet. The story bits can be unlocked by collecting the decryption keys, and because they're placed in levels divisible by 5, this demo has 2. It's not going to seem like much to you, I know, but it took a lot to get them working. Bit of a tangent on that point, because of the way that I do this devlog series, focusing more on design rather than development, I might have accidentally given you the impression that game development is easy and effortless. You might be thinking, wow, that Zane is an incredibly competent game developer. He never struggles to get features working. When I grow up, I want to be just like him. I'm sorry to say, my friends, that's a lie. Real talk, I've been talking about this demo for I don't even know how long, and the thing that kept stopping me from getting it done was... I know how to make remappable controls. I've known since I made a small prototype experiment in Construct 3 on the day that I bought Construct 3. What's always put me off is the tedious faffery involved in implementing it. User interface assets, global values, getting the settings to save, an elegant way to reset the controls if you accidentally mess it up. Hold Control and press Z, the universal undo command. Just dry and boring work that needed to be done but doesn't make very exciting video content. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to fill you in on a little secret. If you watch other game dev YouTubers and you think, wow, that was really cool, let me tell you, 90% of the time, they're also doing stuff like this. Variables, values, maths, options, blah, 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 snore, blah. I hope that hasn't ruined the illusion. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Anyway, it's not just remappable controls, it's a whole suite of quality of life options. Graphics settings, which should hopefully let those of you playing on your dad's old E-Machine's office desktop enjoy the game. Volume levels, turning the trail on and off for those of you that hate it for some reason. That is all done. Fun fact about the trail, by the way. Remember the video I made where I said I'd learned Construct 3 in a day? And then I went on to port all of Reiterate over from Fusion? Hilariously, on that same day when re-implementing the trail, I set a variable function wrong, and since then the game has been creating about 100 objects a second because the trail wasn't getting destroyed properly. Isn't that funny? Ha! The one thing that you should know is that remappable controls only apply to the keyboard. If you're playing with a controller, which I hope that you will be, you can't remap the buttons. You might think that's silly, but it's not. Chances are you'll be playing with something that has an analog stick, a D-pad, a start button, 4 face buttons and some shoulder buttons. They're always going to be in the same place and they all do the same things. Reiterate, much like Sonic the Hedgehog, only has one function, jump. Therefore you don't need that many buttons, so I can map all 4 face buttons during gameplay to jump. The playlist controls are tied to the shoulder buttons. Pause is where you'd expect it to be, and ghost mode is tied to clicking in the left analog stick. Reasonably intuitive, I think. In fact, I'm so confident in how intuitive they are that the game doesn't even tell you what the controller mapping is. I figured Reiterate probably isn't your first video game, and you, being a smart and attractive person, please like and subscribe, would have the intuitive knowledge to figure out which buttons do what. I don't know if I need to put the effort into remappable gamepad controls, but feel free to tell me off in the comments if I'm wrong. The final major feature in the demo is... once you've beaten all 10 levels normally, you'll unlock the option to play the elusive speedrun mode. It sounds super simple, but there's a few neat little tricks going on to maximise the speedrunness of Reiterate's speedrun mode. For a start, as soon as you start, a voice will announce, start. This is in case Reiterate ever makes it to some kind of speedrun marathon, and the organisers need to know when to start their stream timer. The same thing bookends the whole mode so that when you finish the last level in the run, in this case level 10, you'll hear time, and that'll be when the run stops. But that's just for appearances really. Under the hood, the whole thing is regulated and measured by an in-game timer that runs independently to the speed of the game, which means 10 minutes at 60 frames per second is the same 10 minutes at 144 frames per second. So you, on your 1998 Pentium PC with Voodoo FX 3D graphics card, have just as much of a chance of getting a world record as someone on an RTX 3090 would have, if they weren't using it just to mine Bitcoin. There's also no ghost mode in speedrun mode because I don't want people accidentally turning it on while they're trying out a run. And the level complete screen doesn't show up, you just leap straight to the next level. In the full game there will be a restart run option in the pause menu, but I haven't done that yet because I'm lazy. You can keep track of your personal best though, so there is that. And that's available on the main speedrun screen, so if you want to share your times and start a speedrun.com leaderboard, then you've got all the information available. So I think we can all agree there's a phenomenal amount of content for a basic playable demo, and that I am really brilliant and amazing, and you should all subscribe to the channel right now if you haven't already. But even I'm not perfect, and there's a lot that I couldn't get into the demo while still getting it out to you. Obviously it's missing another 40 levels and then 10 secret super hard levels. I also haven't decided yet if I'm going to try and get the Dark World style Z-sides in for launch, but they're not here either. And because all the levels aren't here, there's only 2 decryption keys rather than the full game's 10, and that means no real story and also no 100% category in the speedrun mode. The soundtrack is still in the works and the sound effects need redoing entirely, but what's probably massively apparent above all of that is this. You may have heard the concept of the last 10% in game development. The last 10% is things like bug fixing, graphical tweaks, balances, adjustments, and general polish. You might also have heard that the last 10% can take about the same amount of time as the first 90% of development. Now, I'm hoping it won't take that long, but it's not unusual if it does. I'm sure he wouldn't mind little old me on my pokey little channel bringing him up. But if you want proof of this, ask Jonas Tarola about the last 10% of his game, Will You Snail? In fact, if you've got a line to any developer with a large release title, ask them how long the polish took, and I'd imagine the answers will surprise you. And why do I bring up this last 10% when I'm only at the demo phase? Simple, because that's when the magic happens. That's when post-processing effects get ramped up, level transitions will get put in, animations might get redone entirely, and probably the backgrounds might get redrawn. Basically, if it's janky and a little bit rough around the edges, you don't need to tell me. I know. Even more real talk, part of what makes it so nerve-wracking to release this demo to you now is that I know it's not what it could be, and in fact what it eventually will be. But, as Voltaire once famously said, perfect is the enemy of good, and I need to know that what I'm doing is good now before I try and make it perfect later, and that's where you come in. Go download the demo, come into our Discord and leave me some feedback. I hope you like it and I hope you liked this video, and if you did like this video then to be sure to like this video you liked and subscribe for more videos like the video you liked when you liked it. Then go and wishlist Reiterate on Steam, and I'll see you the next time I'm thinking, hey, let's talk game design.